What was your favorite movie theater experience in 2020?
In 2020?
Yeah, in 2020 or 2021 actually, because 2020.
I was gonna say. Well, I did go to the movies actually 3 times in 2020. But out of the three, Tenet probably the best.
Oh yeah, I went to that one as well. That was like a pretty weird movie, man.
It was pretty weird. Actually, I was pretty excited for Tenet. Not necessarily for the movie, but primarily just going to the theaters. Was what I was most excited about.
I was really excited for the really dirty floors in the movie theater.
Yeah.
When you walk around, like after a few minutes, your feet become really sticky. So then when you
Yeah.
walk outside
And then,
the movie theater,
all these 15-year-olds who don't really want to be there, just kind of like upset that they're there.
It does, dude. You have some weird movie theater experiences.
I'm talking about the workers, dude. All the workers are like.
I was just imagining a bunch of teenagers,
like sitting on the couches, just like really upset that they're there.
Or like they're sitting in like the actual seats watching a movie. Like they're all on their phones. Like, why am I even here?
Oh my gosh!
Every time I go to the movie theater, it just really gets on my nerves, man.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh my gosh, man! I hate it here.
Yeah, I was confused, but I get it now because the workers.
Yeah,
I think
workers.
I think that
I've never met a theater worker who is above the age of 22.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. I think they need to start employing people who like are a little. I think in the future. Okay, so this kind of
minus the managers. The managers are always like dudes like in their 50s or something like that.
Yeah,
but I've never met a theater worker who's like in their 30s or something. Like they're always young. Like they're always our age.
Yeah, like, I think it's just because it's like an iconic like job. Like I don't know if that's like the right word. Like it's like such a well-known teenager job. Like you think of like a teenager job, it's like lifeguard, movie theater, and like bagging groceries. Like that's just such a cliche. Which is like there's like positives to it because I think that could be potentially a cool job, but like at the same time it's like
honestly, if I were to work, I mean I'm a barista and I think that it's a cool job. That's also another iconic, I guess, teenage job.
Yeah, but I feel like barista require, not to inflate your ego, but I feel like a barista requires a little bit more skill than just handing
it does not. It doesn't.
You have to actually know how to make the drinks though. But in a movie theater, you literally,
I guess. Yeah.
You give somebody a ticket and select some stuff on a keyboard. Like it's not.
Yeah.
Like in a barista, you actually have to know how to make the drinks. It's like I would like a mocha, and you just start pouring a bunch of like salt into it, man. You know, like I don't think that's.
I have a strong suspicion that this guy is a theater worker.
Don't you hate it when you go to a coffee shop and the guy's a theater worker, so he starts pouring butter into your mocha?
It sucks so much.
It happens to me way more than what you would expect, man. I mean, it is.
Yeah, it's an odd statistic.
Yeah, dude. I think it's like 85% of all baristas actually originally worked at a movie theater, and they pour butter in the drinks. But that's besides the point. The point that I was wanting to go into was, what do you think like the future of movie theaters are going to be? Because I don't think like 20 years down the line they're going to be able to hire kids because of the fact that like I think theaters have to get like better, you know, like I feel like in the future you have to, like, I wouldn't be surprised if they were like $60 tickets in the future, just because like theaters are going to become less of a normal thing, and they'll be more premium.
It's becoming more of a novelty than it is like an experience, I guess. So, you know, I like going to the movie. Like I would rather see a movie in theaters than on streaming and stuff. Now, streaming is super convenient, especially during the pandemic and stuff. But, you know, now that we have the option to go to theaters again, that's my preference. But I don't know. I feel like that people view theaters as more of an event than an experience, because I mean, look at the top 10 highest grossing films of all time. You know, Avatar. I guess Avatar is probably the last one, and Titanic. There's probably the two last ones where people went to the theater for the experience of it. But Avengers Endgame, Infinity War, No Way Home, Star Wars movies, Fast and Furious and Jurassic Park movies, like they're all big movies, you know, and that makes sense, obviously. But but I feel like that people are only going to the theaters when it's a big movie, you know?
Yeah.
So people were going to the theaters to see the Batman, and a few months ago people were going to the theaters to see No Way Home. But when it comes to like Black Widow, oh, I'll just watch it on Disney Plus. You know?
Yeah.
And
I feel like
it's the same.
Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, and one thing that really sucks as someone who, likes more than just like superhero movies and stuff. Not that superhero movies are bad, but I really like seeing smaller movies and stuff. Like I went to go see The Night House when it came out, and I thought that it was really good, and no one saw it. And I was and The Green Knight as well. The Green Knight was a good one to see in theaters. I really enjoy seeing movies like that in theaters, but everyone goes to see the big stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But
I mean, back to the Black Widow thing. I feel like that's partially the reason why theaters are still even a thing, because streaming service movies, at least now, obviously 2020 is a different case and early 2021 is a different case just because of the pandemic. Right. But I feel like streaming service movies are still kind of like the B movie of the Hollywood world.
Yeah,
and that's kind of I mean, like I feel like as long as it's like this, where like the big movies are still being released exclusively in theaters for the first at least couple weeks, right? I feel like the theaters are going to be able to survive. But eventually, I mean, like big like Sony and stuff, they're going to realize like maybe I could make more money on streaming services by selling a streaming service. Not Sony. I think Disney would be the best example, because Disney they probably make an insane amount of money from Disney Plus, where they don't even really have to release movies in the theater as much, because of the fact that they just, first of all, they have the biggest catalog that they could just live off of. They don't even need to. Mm-hmm. I guarantee that if they stopped making movies, they would still be like the highest paid movie.
Oh yeah, no doubt.
Entity out there, even without releasing movies at all, just off their old stuff. So I mean, I feel like as soon as bigger companies just completely phase out the theater process, I mean, you're going to see theaters drop left and right, which is, I mean, it sucks, but I think that might be better for theaters overall, because when your product is becoming unpopular, you have to kind of either, number one, make it cheaper so there's more incentive to do it, or to go the other route and make it premium. And I think that premium is probably going to be the way it goes, because I mean, think about
AMC. AMC upped their ticket price for the Batman.
Which is that kind of
ridiculous, but
I mean it made sense though, because the Batman kind of had an insane amount of hype, but
and plus I'm sure that they saw
the theater pass, didn't they?
I'm sure that they saw like what happened with No Way Home, and they probably predicted that the same thing would happen with the Batman. So I mean, it's smart, but a little bit scummy.
It's just I mean, what do you think is going to be like movie theaters in like 20 years? Like, do you think there even will be movie theaters other than like maybe like the small local ones?
I don't know, probably, just because it has been a way to show. I don't know. It's kind of an art form in and of itself, if you think about it. Just the experience of it, of walking in and smelling popcorn, 15-year-olds who don't want to be there, and then you walk in, sit, pick your seat. You talk to your friends about what movies are coming out and stuff, and whether or not you're excited for these movies, that the previews and stuff, and then you watch the movie, and then you walk out and you talk to your friends about it. While while you're walking out and on the car ride home, it's an experience,
I mean, like when you're watching a movie on your phone, you don't really even get like, you can enjoy the movie, but you don't get that like adrenaline, like you're watching a highly anticipated movie, like with the Batman. I remember sitting down and I was like, dude, this is like, I'm ready for this, because I mean, recently I haven't been going to the theater. I haven't really been a big theater goer, but I did have a pretty good stretch in 2021, but I've only gone to a handful of movies this year. But I mean, dude, the Batman, like, there's a different feeling completely when you're watching, like a streaming service movie that may even have a little bit of hype behind it, that may be exciting to watch. but like you're never going to be able to recreate that adrenaline rush or that dopamine hit
Right.
that you get when you're watching a movie for the first time in a theater, because it's like listening to live music versus listening to playlists on Spotify.
Right.
Like obviously live music maybe won't be perfect as an experience, and you can't control it, but it's like it's ultimately a better experience just because there's it's live. You're seeing it in person. It feels like you actually saw it, and it feels more exclusive as well. Even though it's not. I mean, obviously anybody can go to the theater, but like would you rather go to a concert to listen to your favorite band, or would you rather listen to a playlist that 10 million people are listening to? Like there's so many different things that make theaters and live stuff in general just better than streaming.
Yeah, for sure. One thing that I don't know, you were talking about, like earlier, you asked me what my favorite theater experience was in 2021. You said,
yeah. Well, I mean,
or in general.
In general, but if you have one in 2021, go ahead.
Okay. In 2021, a lot of people would say No Way Home, but my theater was kind of awkward for No Way Home. I went on Saturday because I was out of town when the movie came out, so no one was cheering. There's just like a lot of people talking. Like whenever, I guess spoilers for No Way Home, but everyone has seen it. When like Matt Murdock showed up, there's like someone behind me. It's like, oh, that's Daredevil and stuff. And then when Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield, there's like people in the theater going, oh yeah, that's that person. Like there wasn't any cheering. It was just people in the theater telling each other like, oh, it's that guy. Like, but like not that was like a bad theater experience. But I have to say, I mean, Godzilla versus Kong was a pretty good one, just because of the memes and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And it was pretty clear that everyone that was there for the meme. So that was pretty funny.
Yeah.
I can't really think. Oh yeah, I guess when I was the movie wasn't that good, but when I went to go see Snake Eyes, I went at the theater, your favorite theater actually, and it had like reclining. It was kind of a surprise because I was like, I had nothing else better to do, so I just walked in on like a Tuesday afternoon, and I bought ticket. I bought a ticket for myself, and I was the only one at the movie, and I'm like, dang, the movie's not that great, but it was like such a chill, relaxed kind of thing that I was cool with it not being amazing.
For a little bit of context, the reason why that theater is considered my favorite, you're talking about the one in Charleston, right?
The one next to the trampoline park.
Yeah, the reason why that is my favorite theater is because it's the first theater to actually go premium in West Virginia. Because West Virginia is the state that we live in case you couldn't tell. It has like no IMAX theaters, and it has like some pretty decent theaters, but it doesn't really have like those like fancy big city ones. But in Charleston is our biggest city. It's not a big city by any means, but it is our biggest city, and it finally got one of those like high quality revamped theaters, and it has like reclining
even before
seats.
Cinemark.
Yeah, I mean, what was it? I forgot the brand of it or the chain of it, whatever it's called. Shoot.
Yeah, I can look it up later. I have the ticket actually. I can look. I keep track of my tickets.
Well, yeah. Anyways, it's like they took a lot of the seats out and they replaced them with recliners. The inside experience is like way better than what most theaters are in West Virginia. It feels like an experience, which is kind of like what I think most theaters are gonna have to do in the next 10 years because. Like again, you have to make it better for it to, still have a purpose. Even though I, obviously you and I, we're big film fans, so we're always gonna think that it's gonna be better. But like, the average person, they're not gonna really see it as a necessity. Like the guy.
Well, it's this next generation.
This Netflix.
This next generation is really gonna. I don't know. They're not going to see it as big of a deal because I mean by the time that we're into adulthood and stuff, like way into it, people who are like little kids right now who are going to be like teenagers and young adults, they're not going to they're not going to hold that value that we held for it, and as it's kind of a generational thing, I think. I'm trying to think of something that was a valuable form of entertainment back in the day that's not really anymore. I guess like late night comedy. Like like late night talk show hosts. That used to be a pretty big thing, and now no one really cares about it.
Or here's an even more like recent example, like cartoon channels, like on like actual cable. Like, those are like non-existent now. Like nobody cares about those. But like
is Boomerang?
No, Boomerang. I'm pretty sure still exists, but it might not be called Boomerang anymore. There's like a couple of new ones that I've seen pop up here and there that have different weird names, but they're pretty much just reruns of like actual classic cartoons. But like Cartoon Network and Nickelodeon, those
Saturday morning cartoons are lost.
Yeah, I mean, obviously Netflix has picked up Nickelodeon, and Cartoon Network has. I think Cartoon Network went to Hulu, maybe.
Did they?
I'm not sure. I know that Cartoon Network is somewhere.
I know that Nickelodeon made a deal with Disney.
Oh, they did. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I knew that they had. I knew Netflix had a lot of rights, or not a lot of rights, but had a lot of their shows. Nickelodeon shows and everything, but
that was like last year, I think, or maybe 2 years ago when that deal happened.
Yeah, see, like it's just like you're not. It's kind of crazy to think like, because I remember my biggest form of entertainment when I was like 12 to 5 was those channels, and now channels aren't a thing anymore because it's why would you want to wait till a specific time to watch a show when you could just pull it up on your phone, which is kind of like it ruins it, kind of, because like,
I think it also ruins finding a movie, because I remember I didn't have cable at my house. Whenever I went to my grandparents' house, I'd like scroll through like the channels and stuff, and I'd like find movies that I thought were really cool. Like I found and well, I guess I can't really remember the specific movies, but like sometimes I'll watch a movie. Like I would have watched a movie on there, and then years later, and I think like, man, well, what was that movie? And then years later, I'm like, oh my gosh, that was the movie that I saw when I was like, I like stuff like that. Yeah. But also, like, I discovered the movie sucks, but I liked it when I was a little kid. After Earth.
Mm-hmm. Dude, same. I really liked it when I was little. Like I was so surprised to hear that people hated it, and then I watched it again, and I was like, man.
Yeah. How does M. Night Shyamalan make The Sixth Sense, Unbreakable, and The Village, and like a few years later make some of the worst movies in the 21st century? Like it's absolutely baffling.
I don't know. I think Afterlife is definitely not as bad as people say it is. It's just like it's kind of underwhelming, because I remember like it was kind of hyped up for like when it like was like about to come up, because obviously Will Smith and Jaden Smith. It's a father-son type of thing. Obviously Pursuit of Happiness is the first time that we saw that. And it's just I think that if it wasn't those two, and it was the same story, and it ended up being the same movie, I think it probably would have not gotten like half of the hate that it got. But it's still big movie. It should have it should be at least a little bit decent. But it's definitely not a good movie.
What one channel that I really liked was Turner Classic Movies, because I've told you this, but I'd watch it when I was at my grandparents' house. I'd watch Turner Classic Movies with them, because they'd like they'd like pop popcorn and stuff, and like they'd sit in their recliners and I'd sit in the middle, and we just like watch these old movies. Is one of the reasons probably why I like classic cinema a lot. Just like stuff like that, something that's going to be missing. And I guess you can have the same kind of experience when like scrolling through a streaming service. And I have discovered a lot of great movies just by scrolling through a streaming service. But I don't know. It's kind of like different, I guess, on a channel, because with like a channel, like it's kind of like a mystery box almost. Mm-hmm. It's almost like you're like those pranks that people do when they like have this big present and they have like a smaller present and then a small, what I'm talking about?
Yeah, that's like a huge bucket.
It's kind of like, it's kind of like that, but like scrolling through channels and stuff.
Yeah, I think I could see that analogy. I mean, I feel pretty similar to it. I mean, I remember like, obviously, we're acting as if we were alive during the prime of television, which we definitely are not. But I remember like when I was like in elementary school, and like channel surfing was literally the best thing like in the world.
Oh yeah.
Because it was like like you said, you don't really. It feels like you find stuff, and like it feels a little more special, and like when you actually enjoy the movie, you want to tell everybody about it. But now
right.
it's like if the movie is big on a streaming service, everybody's gonna see it because there's algorithms for that, and there's huge big budget like pushes on social media. It's not like there's nothing really that's going to be like that anymore. I mean, obviously, there are independent films, but independent films, they're kind of like they're locked, behind the paywall because it's very rare for an independent film to be picked up by Netflix or these bigger streaming services. So they most of the time they have to resort to Amazon, where they sell their movies for like $20. But it's just the way it is, and I think that theaters are probably going to stick around, and that will probably be the last relic of that time period where there was like cable and that type of like form of film. I don't think there's going to be anything like it.
Yeah, again, I think that we've kind of grown up in the perfect time for that because we kind of grown up in the in between of like coming out of quote unquote physical media and into digital. Like we grew up like right smack dab in the middle, which I think is a pretty perfect time period to grow up in, just because both are amazing forms of media. Like you look at Netflix movies, right? There's a ton of great Netflix. Like I just watched The Ballad of Buster Scruggs, and I thought it was really good. And then you have like traditional forms of media, like TV, where you have The Office and whatnot. Like because that was a traditional show, but which you don't even see. I can't even think of any popular cable shows right now. I can only think of popular streaming shows because
the popular cable shows that I can think of are companions on or not whatsoever. Like they're simultaneously being released on streaming services or like a week after, like the Dave show with Hulu with an FX. Like that's probably one of the bigger FX shows, and it's only a week exclusive on cable, and then it's on Hulu. Like there's nothing. It's kind of like there's no waiting anymore, which it really sucks because that was the fun of your enjoying a show. It was partially obviously liking the show, but the other big part was the anticipation and the the thinking about what could possibly. There's just so many elements that are going to be lost because of streaming services. But all right, let's take a break, and we'll be back in a few. All right. You should probably say what's your favorite movie. You kind of did with the Snake Eye.
Yeah, but that was like of the year. I have of all time.
Yeah, what's your all time?
The Force Awakens for sure. The Force Awakens. It's not a masterpiece by any means. It has a lot of problems, but it's the first movie I remember like being invested in, like before it even came out.
Yeah.
Like it's the first movie that I remember like being like reading up on movie news and stuff, like hearing about J.J. Abrams directing it and stuff. Like it's the first movie that I like kept up with the news and stuff. So I was super stoked for it. It's probably the most hyped I'd ever been for a movie, maybe ever. I don't know. Probably Infinity War. But anyways, The Force Awakens. I was 11 years old, and I went in to go see it with my friend, and my friend and I don't really get to see each other that often, so it kind of added that extra kind of, I guess spice or whatever that, made it better. Mm-hmm. So, walking up the theater's packed, and this is my local theater, and it's normally not packed. So, but this theater was packed, man, and. I got my tickets, we sat down, and what's cool is that the theater is so packed that my friend and my dad, my friend and my friend's dad, what the heck? My dad and my friend's dad had to sit in separate rows than us, so it kind of like made it extra cool, just, for an 11-year-old, that is. And I remember just like the vibe that was in the room, people were clearly stoked. And just the fat sweaty nerd energy that was going on.
And I've been waiting years for this.
And then like a few years later.
They better be like the comic books.
They better be like the. Oh my gosh, I'm not even going to get into that. I could honestly go on an entire segment on how much I hate Star Wars fans.
Yeah,
but
I mean, you are one though, man. You are a Star Wars.
I am
fan,
one,
but like
I am a Star Wars fan.
We're not the same one. I feel like you gotta clarify. We're not the same. You know, like
there's two kinds of people who look at Star Wars movies. There are the Star Wars fans, and there are the movie fans. And one thing that's interesting is that Star Wars fans hate the sequels and movie fans like them, except for The Rise of Skywalker. But that's besides the point. I remember the energy of the room when the Star Wars first appeared. Everyone was freaking out in the theater, and this is the first and only time that a theater has cheered throughout the entire movie for me. And then people cheered when the Millennium Falcon showed up, and people cheered when Han Solo showed up, and I was pretty embarrassed because when Princess Leia showed up, I was pretty caught up in the moment, and I was the only one who went woo in the theater. I was
everyone's like, shh,
shut up, dude. Yeah, I was pretty embarrassed because I was like, oh man, it's Princess Leia, I know her, yeah. And everyone was done.
I had one of those moments, not to that extent. But when watching Spider-Man No Way Home, which is weird, you keep talking about how it wasn't that big of a theater experience, but dude, Spider-Man No Way Home, hands down, is the best theater experience I ever had because it wasn't packed. Again, we said in the last segment, we live in West Virginia. Okay, West Virginia has 1.2 million people in it. There's not a whole lot of people, so in West Virginia terms, it was packed. Realistically, it was probably more 50% filled, but still. Dude, every 5 seconds, everybody was cheering and clapping because it was just such a grand film. It obviously isn't a perfect film by any means, but it's fanfare done correct, you know. And
right.
So, anyways, I was only person in my area. I went with my friend, and he's not a big comic book movie fan, and he didn't really know a whole lot about the movie because he just doesn't follow that type of stuff. And he also hasn't watched any of the Netflix shows. So when Daredevil came onto the thing, I was like, dude, no way! And I was getting all excited. He's like, dude, who is that guy?
It's just a blind dude. It's a Matt or something.
Why does anybody care? And that was right. I kind of got late into the Daredevil fandom, and I still haven't finished the show yet. I'm still in season 1, but I just now.
It's on Netflix now, or not Netflix, Disney Plus.
Yeah. I just had started watching it, and I was getting kind of invested because it is it's such a high quality show, especially for a Netflix show.
It's a slow burn as well. It's a slow burn.
That was kind of back when Netflix shows always hit hard because it was Stranger Things. It was
Daredevil.
It was the other Marvel things. It was wasn't there a what was it called? There was a show it was not a show that I followed, but there was this bit, I can't remember what the show was. They're on Netflix, but that doesn't matter. What mattered was I was the only person cheering for Daredevil in my area. Although there were other people, people noticed, but I was pretty much the only person who was dude, that's Daredevil.
Right.
It obviously wasn't to the same extent because people were still cheering for that pretty loudly. I mean, it was literally almost everything made them cheer, to be honest, though. I mean, which made
I don't even know who this guy is, but I'm excited right now.
It's just a random guy on the street. Whoa, cameo! It's
oh my gosh!
I was kind of as soon as I saw Daredevil throughout that entire movie, I was like, "There's gonna be somebody else, other than the people."
Oh yeah,
it didn't happen, but still, it definitely added to it.
Well, then D'Onofrio showed up as Kingpin in Hawkeye the week after.
Yeah, I mean,
anyways.
Okay, wait. I have another thing. Are you done with your? Wait, have you completed your?
Oh no, I was just gonna say one more thing.
Okay, go ahead and say. I was gonna say.
Just when I left the theater, and this is probably the last time that this had ever happened, I was just nonstop thinking about the movie. After I watched it, I was just thinking about what's gonna happen next, and just all the stuff that had happened. I remember going to bed. And laying down, and all I could think about was Star Wars. So it was just it was just an experience I'll never forget, and I honestly look back on it very, very fondly. the only theater experience that even like not even it didn't even come close to matching it, but like that went high up there was my Infinity War one, and even then, like, just like nothing compares to my Force Awakens experience. But
yeah. All right. What I was gonna say, it's more of a question. All right, so let me paint the picture for you, okay? You're in the movie theater with more than one person, okay? With a group of people.
Yeah, how it tends to be.
Yeah, you're not in there by yourself.
Yeah,
like you do, when you're watching Snake Eyes.
Yeah.
So this is all right. So like when I was little, I every time it seemed like this happened way more than it should have. Every time I went to the bathroom during a movie, you know how the signs change, like when you go to the back, like they're like pretty much after the first 30 minutes of the movie, the sign changes and it no longer says the same film. It switches to the next showing. Right. So this happened to me multiple times where I would get up in the middle of the movie when it was kind of like dying down. There was nothing going on, which really showed my attention span back then. And I would go to the bathroom, and so same theater. Same exact situation. I would come back and the sign would be changed, and so like for a good 5 minutes, I would I would be freaking out because I'm like, dude, how did I move? How did I lose the room? I was curious. Am I the only person who's stupid enough for that to happen to, or am I the only one?
That's never happened to me.
I think that says a lot more about me as a person.
Yeah, I mean,
it happened so many times as well. I think like there were probably two times where like it seriously scared me, and like
did you like go to the manager and just like, hey, I'm seeing this movie and I forget which the.
I remember one time I went down the elevator because I was like, I must have went upstairs to use the bathroom. It was at the Charleston Theater, so I think there's 3 levels to it. There's 2 actual like levels you can go to, and this is obviously the higher up maintenance level. I believe that's how they do it. But like I remember going downstairs into that main lobby, and that's a big main lobby, and so I'm just like walking around. There's nobody out there, and because it was like a later showing, and I don't like it doesn't make any sense, but there was no one out there. But like there was no one out there, and I was just like freaking out. So I go back up the elevator, and like I literally like I was pretty sure which room it was. But I was so afraid that I would walk into the wrong theater, because like that's always like a big fear of mine. And I actually did that. I told you before the movie started, but I did that during the Batman.
Yeah.
You
told me that. Yeah.
And he didn't buy the tickets. I bought both the tickets because he gave me the ride. I was like, I'll buy your ticket. And so we start making our way to the rooms and theaters, whatever you call them. And he pretty much tells me like. Because I at this point I know the number, let's just say 13, and I'm like, I know this is the number, and he somehow convinces me, I don't know how, he somehow convinces me that it's a theater on the complete other side of the of the building. So we walk down there and it says the Batman, and so then I'm like, oh, I can't believe I almost walked into the wrong theater. We walk in, sit down, everybody's already sitting, everybody's like enjoying the movie, and like it's getting it's right after the big scene. I'm not gonna, in case anybody's seen it, it's the scene that was during the funeral. It's right after that.
Okay.
So we sit down, and we don't know what's going on because we didn't see that scene. We sit down, and everybody's just like, everybody looks at us, and I'm like, dude, something's wrong. So I look over at him, I'm like, dude, this is not right. We have way too, like, I don't know how we managed to be this late, or we're in the wrong theater. So he's like, all right, let's go, and like. And everybody can hear us because we're whispering super loudly. And I lean over to him like, all right, dude, we can't both go out at the same time because it'll be too obvious. So I obviously I volunteer myself to leave first. And I'm like, all right, you gotta wait here for like a good minute. So I get up and leave, and like a minute after he gets up and leaves. People knew what was going on, but
for your own pride, you had to do that.
Luckily, we didn't waste enough time. We got to the actual playing on time, but
I kind of had an awkward
in the movie theaters a lot. Apparently,
I kind of had an awkward experience as well. In the same theater, I ordered the tickets on my phone. because I wanted to buy the Batman cup, and I didn't know if you could in person or not. So I was just like, I didn't want to take any chances, so I just bought the cup through the app. And I got on the app, the Cinemark app, and I pressed the random QR code. I'm like, well, I'm guessing that this is the QR code right here. So I just put my phone under the thing, and the lady scanned it. I say lady, she's probably my age. But,
which is the exact reason why I would never buy something like that.
Yeah.
Dude, what if I go to school with her? I'm buying a Batman cup.
Yeah, she's probably my age, a little bit older. But anyways, and she was like, I don't like, it's not working. And the girl next to her, who's probably been working there a little longer than she has, is like, here, let me see. So she, like, checking it and stuff, and they're like, I don't know what's going on. So I'm like upset. I'm like, not at them, but I'm like, what the heck? I paid for these tickets, and I'm super hyped. Like, why out of all the movies? Yeah. Well, here's the thing, man. Like, I don't have my license yet, so I had a ton of complications in getting a ride to the movie theater. And I don't know if I should say this because it's a little bit personal, but I'm just gonna say screw it, because they're never gonna see this, or they I don't know. I'm just gonna say it. But I was talking to my friend, and I was like, he was gonna see it, but he had to back out because of work. Then I was going to see it with my mom, and then she had to back out because she was busy. Then I was going to see it with my brother, and then he had to back out because he was busy. So my last resort was to see the movie with a girl who I went on a date with like a few months prior.
Dude, I thought that was a weird situation. You explained it to me, like, so I remember you told me you were going with a girl, and I'm like, oh, dude, because I was asking if you wanted to go with me and my group, which was a way bigger group when we were planning it, but like it was me and another dude. It was like 3 other people though. But like, so like I'm talking to you, I'm trying to see if you want to go to the movie, and you're like, I'm going with a girl. I'm like, oh shoot, never mind, dude. I don't want to ruin that. And then you explained to me that you already went on a date and it didn't go well. And I'm like, why are you going to the theater?
I got desperate, man. Desperate times call for desperate measures. But I mean, like, she knew that it was just a friend kind of thing. But I think that just the situation is kind of funny. And then, so I had, and by the way, I rarely have complications going to the movies. But the movie that I am most excited to see this year is the movie that I had the most complications seeing. So eventually, they're like, here, they gave me my phone back, and they're like, maybe you can just pay for the tickets up there. And I was like, okay. So I looked at the phone, and I fixed the problem. I was pressing the QR code to buy tickets, not the one to like have your ticket scanned. So I fixed it, and it was all fine and dandy. And then we walked into the theater, and I saw you and Broccoli, we'll call him.
That's close enough to the actual name, but so far.
Yeah, well, cauliflower, I guess, and
yeah, man, cauliflower, my good buddy.
Yeah, and I waved at you guys, and the guys in front of you guys thought that I was waving at them. They were like, "What? Why is this guy waving at us?"
Dude, were they the ones in the corner, or were they the ones in front of us?
In front of us.
Okay, if it was the ones in the corner, that would be even more awkward, because those guys are low-key so weird. They
were laughing like throughout the entire movie.
I know, right? They were definitely on something, man. But
no doubt. But like, Batman would like literally just like when the Riddler was like killing the guy, I heard.
Dude, I know, like that was such an intense scene. Like I've never like it truly was like it was a thrilling movie. And like you just hear in the background these guys snickering, like, dude, how are they laughing at this? These guys being brutally murdered right now, and it's the most brutal Batman movie ever filmed, and they're laughing at it. And I'm like, obviously there's Daredevil and Logan, but it's definitely the most like violent DC
brutal
film.
PG-13.
Yeah,
PG-13.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, I guess Snyder cut, but that doesn't matter. The point was these guys are
the Suicide Squad as well.
Laughing. Yeah, true. Forgot about that. But that's more comedic though. I mean, like.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, I get what you mean. Yeah. Yeah, just like they were laughing at all of the most inappropriate times, and I was kind of, because of that, I was kind of laughing just because they were like.
That girl must have been like, first of all, the date didn't go well. Now he's laughing at this guy being murdered.
Yeah. I'm so glad that did not work out. Yeah. But I don't know. I've only been to the theaters like 3 times this year, and I'm hoping to see I don't know if it's going to be in any theaters near us, but Amma, which I don't really know what it's about necessarily, but it's like about this Korean woman whose mother is like haunting her or something. I'm hoping to see that maybe this weekend if it's in any of our theaters. But in April, I'm really wanting to see everything. What's it called? Everything, everywhere, all at once.
Is about, it that?
You know what I'm talking about?
I think so. Is it made by that one studio that made like Lamb and all that?
Yeah, A24. Yeah.
Yeah. I know what you're talking about. They made Lamb, right?
Yeah. Yeah, Lamb and The Lighthouse and Lady Bird. And
I don't know why I use Lamb as Lamb as an example, but I've never seen that movie. I'm not planning on ever seeing.
Well, it's their most recent.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm super excited about that, and of course, what's it called? The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent.
Yeah, that looks like it's gonna be a pretty fun film.
Yeah. And The Northman. The Northman's probably my second most anticipated film.
Yeah, when you first like showed it to me, I was like, I don't know, man. And then I watched the trailer like 5 more times over the course of the first time seeing it, and I'm like, yeah, I'm definitely gonna see this.
Yeah,
I mean, it's a good film for sure.
Yeah, just for the director's work, I'm excited for it. But
yeah, I used to not be that way, but now I am. Like, I actually care about the director, which is your fault. We talked about this in the last episode, but I don't think they heard
the
it.
audio kind of sucked. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, you kind of messed it up for me, man. Yeah, where I used to not care about who directed the film or who's acting in the film, and now that's the only way I determine if I'm watching the film or not.
Yeah, but speaking of directors and stuff, what's his face? Sean Levy is directing Deadpool 3. Yeah,
I actually have someone to say about that in particular. So the new movie that he just directed, what's it called? The
Free Guy?
No, the newer one, the one that just came out on Netflix.
What? Wait, let me look it up.
Yeah, well, anyways, I was watching it. I wasn't watching it. It was like a clip. Or it wasn't a clip. I forgot how I saw it. It was earlier today. Okay, I remember. My parents were watching it.
Oh, The Adam Project.
Yeah, The Adam Project. My parents were watching it, and they left, and they just left the TV on. So I went into their room to turn it off because it was loud. And dude, I literally I started like watching it for a couple seconds, and like it is the worst like dialogue I think I've ever heard ever. It was like it's the little kid is like I don't think they're chasing us because like they're being chased for some reason, and then both of them say like look up. It's like super dramatic and corny, and he looks up and like there's people from the sky. It made no sense, and it was so cringy. It kind of like. That type of stuff, I don't know. Like those type of terrible movies that like are made to make money. I don't know. I'm not a big fan of them. It's kind of like Red Notice. Although Red Notice was bad, it is a similar type of movie where it's like they know it's not going to be a masterpiece, but it'll make money.
Oh yeah. I'm gonna watch it, The Adam Project, just to like fulfill my list, like because I'm, like last year, I'm trying to see as many new films as I can. So I'll probably watch it just to fulfill that list. But I was pretty proud of myself. I watched way more movies than what I suspected. I ended up watching 52 2021 films, and it was it's kind of weird because, like I thought that 2021 was actually a pretty decent year for film. I mean, we got some pretty good stuff.
For sure. I think it's 10 times better than 2020.
yeah. Or Tenet was the best movie of that year. Yeah.
And Tenet was good, but it definitely wasn't best.
Like if Tenet was released in 2019, it wouldn't be the best movie of 2019.
Yeah, I mean, literally any other year in the past couple years, it would be like maybe top 5. 2021, it wouldn't have been top 5, I don't think. Which It's Christopher Nolan though, so it's obviously a decent film. All right, let's take a break, and we'll be back in a little bit. You and I have grown up on like radio and stuff, just for like cars and stuff, but like we never really were around when like radio was like what people cared about. Like,
yeah.
I mean, I feel like ever since like DVDs became a thing, or CDs, I mean, became a thing. It was like, why even listen to the radio when you can get high quality audio? You know.
Right.
But
well, the and stuff. Yeah.
Dude, I love that stuff, man.
I love that so much. I've been on the radio before.
Yeah, man. When you screamed your insulting rants about public workers, and you said that you think people who work to serve the public are terrible, and I was just disgusted by that personally. But I guess it is what it is, man. You probably shouldn't have said that though.
I'm gonna start it off. Are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready, man. Go ahead and I've been recording, man. So you go ahead and start it off.
Oh, my bad. Straight up. I figured that you were, but I was like, just in case.
Yeah, man.
We're kind of like at this crossroads, as I've mentioned before, of this kind of transitional phase of physical when it comes to film, from physical media to digital media. So, it used to be, when we were like really young, it used to be DVDs, and then when we were still young, it was then it became Blu-rays, and now digital, streaming services.
Here's the thing: I don't think Blu-ray ever got its fair fight because of streaming services. Like, DVDs were more popular than Blu-ray, like almost exclusively, until streaming services came out.
Right.
And then people bought Blu-rays because it was like, you're getting extended versions of it, you're getting director's commentary and that type of stuff. But like, DVDs were always bigger than Blu-ray.
Oh yeah.
Which, I mean, I never really cared because I wasn't a big film fan for a while. But I mean, obviously like everybody, I liked watching movies, but I didn't really care about the technical stuff until recently. But like, I remember like thinking DVDs were just as good as Blu-rays. But I bought 1917, and I turned on the DVD first, because the Blu-ray, obviously Blu-ray is configured differently, and I was using an external speaker on my TV, so I had it just wasn't working. The audio wasn't. So I put in the DVD because it's just basic. It's gonna work with anything, and like the quality is so terrible. And like, I never really noticed it. Like, and I can't. I bought Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. This at the same time, and I put Once Upon a Time in Hollywood in just to see what like extra stuff they had, and like it's almost unwatchable. Like, it really is. Yeah, I really like
with newer DVDs. With newer DVDs especially, it seems like that with older DVDs it's fine, but like with newer ones, it seems like they just like don't care anymore, because I've watched, I own a ton of, I've kind of like replaced some of my DVDs with Blu-rays, but like my DVD collection is like so huge that I'll probably never replace them all with Blu-rays. But like, I own most of the Pirates of the Caribbean movies on Blu-ray, on DVD, and they look fine on DVD. But yeah, then there's some movies, like I remember like Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. Like, I remember watching it on DVD versus on Blu-ray, and like there really is a huge difference in quality.
Yeah, it's like I guess to relate it to more modern stuff, it's like watching a YouTube video like in like 340. I think it's compared to like 1080 or 4K.
Yeah,
like, it's like there's such an obvious like difference.
Right. I have these.
Go ahead.
No, I have these really cool Blu-rays of the Iron Man trilogy, and what they'll do is that like it's the Paramount logo, so it's like it shows you the Paramount logo in DVD quality, and then like it goes, and then it goes to Blu-ray quality. Yeah. And I remember watching the first Iron Man, and I was like, "Oh, that's cool." And then I watched the second Iron Man, and before it did the I forgot about it, and I was like, "Whoa, why is the quality so bad right now?" And then it did the thing. I'm like, "Oh." I'm like, man, there really is a difference between DVD and Blu-ray. It could have just been like a whole thing where they made it look bad on purpose. But if that is true DVD quality, I don't know. But I just thought that was cool, and it kind of showed me the importance of Blu-rays and stuff. But
yeah, although we've kind of been crapping on DVDs for the past couple of minutes, I do have like a lot of good memories with DVDs. Like, I remember one of my favorite things to do was to whenever we went to Walmart, I would get a movie from the $5 bin.
The $5 movie, dude, yeah,
that's the best thing ever. Like, there's nothing.
I cannot believe they got rid of those.
Like that again. No, they didn't get rid of those.
Yeah.
They had those, dude.
Well,
I went to Walmart and there was a $2 bin. I was like, this is what happened?
Yeah,
the DVDs
are
quality. Now it's just
the
like
DVD
B-list. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, the DVD qualities, not in like the disc, but like in the packaging is like really cheap now. Yeah. And even in Blu-rays, I've noticed that it's begun to get cheaper because, like I said, I own a lot of like movies from like the early 2000s and early 2010s. I own a lot of DVDs from then, and then I also own like the Last Jedi DVD. And the quality, like, and just the plastic and stuff, like, the early 2000s quality is way better than the new one. And it's the same thing with Blu-rays. Like, I own an Interstellar Blu-ray, and the quality on that is way better. I actually went to Walmart today, and I bought No Time to Die on Blu-ray. And the quality for my Interstellar Blu-ray is way better than my No Time to Die Blu-ray. So it's probably just
okay. That's a little bit different though, because Christopher Nolan, he films on didn't he exclusively like films on IMAX cameras now, doesn't he? Like I know.
I don't know about exclusively.
I'm pretty sure. Yeah, like, I'm pretty sure he like because it's I don't know. Obviously I'm not a big like I don't know the history of like cameras and film and stuff. Like I don't know the technical part of it. Like when it just comes to, like the brand names and stuff. But like IMAX cameras were not that popular until Nolan started using them because they're number one, they're expensive, and number two, they're huge. They're kind of hard to use. But I know
Nolan definitely popularized it
than most people.
Yeah, because The Dark Knight, I believe, was one of the first movies to be shot in IMAX, and even then, it wasn't fully shot in IMAX because I guess the story is that Nolan had like one of the only IMAX cameras ever. There was like less than 10, maybe, if I'm remembering the story correctly. There was only like a handful of IMAX cameras, and they're like, all right, yeah, shoot this high budget action movie with our rare camera, and they broke the camera while filming a scene where it gets flipped over.
Yeah, that's pretty rough. I wonder how much. Yeah. I wonder. Obviously, they're probably cheaper than what they used to be. But like, I wonder how much the original IMAX cameras cost. Like they were. Probably
I'm sure that's a ton.
All right, here's what I found on the Interstellar though. Interstellar was partially shot on IMAX and partially shot on 35 millimeter film. So it's literally
my biggest complaint with Interstellar was the constant aspect ratio changes, and that is because what was being shot in IMAX versus what was shot on regular digital cameras.
I'm not a huge I don't really care about like that type of stuff, which is weird because I'm not a big fan of Wes Anderson, and he did that. What was the movie that he did it? I know he did it in the
French Dispatch. That's more of a stylistic choice.
Yeah, but I feel like it adds to it. Like I'm not talking about the Nolan. I'm talking about Interstellar specifically. I think it adds to it because it's like it shows the normal ratio, and then it shows like IMAX, and it adds emphasis on the IMAX shots.
Right.
Which I get why some people wouldn't be a fan of it, but personally,
after a while I got used to it, but it just kind of took me out of the experience when I first noticed it. Sometimes like if it were like one scene was shot on digital and then the next was, I would be fine with that. But when it's like constantly changing aspect ratios like within the scene, that kind of takes me out of the experience, because it's like, so one shot of Matthew McConaughey walking into the house, and then it cuts to like a B angle, but it's in IMAX and it's a different aspect ratio. Like it kind of takes me out of the experience a little bit. But I noticed that James Gunn did the same thing with Guardians of the Galaxy, because I was watching that on Disney Plus recently, and for the first Guardians of the Galaxy film, that would happen a lot. I didn't notice it. I don't think he did with Volume 2, but with Volume 1, there's a lot of switching of aspect ratios. But how do you feel about 3D movies?
I actually just watched a really interesting YouTube documentary on that. It's the biggest fumble in Hollywood history, Because like there was a point where like 3D was literally everything.
Yeah, I mean that's why Avatar got so big.
Yeah, and like people literally watched Avatar just for 3D. You know,
Right.
like that's the reason. That's probably the reason why it was the highest-grossing film of all time for decades, or decade.
Still is.
No, wasn't it overtaken by Endgame?
Yeah, it was, but then James Cameron. Well, I don't know if it was James Cameron, but it was re-released in China for a little bit, and then it got overtaken again.
Oh shoot! So yeah, I was right. Decades.
Yeah.
But anyways, what was I saying?
3D.
Yeah, 3D. So like, there was a time where 3D like 3D TVs were like the new thing, and like if you had a 3D TV, you were like you were like rich and stuff. It was kind of like flat screens in the early 2000s. But like, it never caught on like flat screens have, because like now you can every TV's a flat screen. But like I don't think I've ever seen an actual 3D TV, and I think the main reason is it's uncomfortable. Like it isn't worth the headache. After like I hate, like every time I go to a 3D movie, and I never go on purpose. Every time I go into a 3D movie and they have like either the crappy blue and red glasses, or those like really cheap like disposable glasses that are just dude, they give me a headache. I normally take them off for like 50% of the movie, because it legitimately it causes pain. They're not comfortable, and there's definitely better ways to do it. I mean, the technology that they started to develop in the 2010s is so much better than
it's just that no one
ruined. Like it was already
no one's putting effort into it, I think.
Well, no, they did. Like there's a 3D TV that requires zero glasses, and you can look at it from any angle. So like, and it's going to be 3D. But that because of how poorly Hollywood had used 3D with the cheap glasses and the headaches and no effort to make it better, it ruined the future of 3D. And I don't think 3D is ever going to come back because of that. Because there's such a a stigma about it. Nobody wants to.
I don't even think you can see 3D movies anymore.
They're still a thing. Like they're probably still relatively popular, but they're not mainstream. Like they're popular in theaters, but theaters aren't popular anymore.
Yeah. So I remember seeing Aquaman in 3D, I think. If I remember correctly, I think I saw Aquaman in 3D.
Yeah.
And there are some shots in Aquaman that are really cool, and it wasn't because there were things popping out of the screen. It's because that the screen had more depth, like behind the stuff. And I think, and I've just been thinking about this a lot recently, I think that if filmmakers did more stuff like that, where rather than things popping out of the screen, it's giving more depth behind the characters, I think that that's more of an immersive way to use 3D. But that's just my opinion.
That was one of the big points in that YouTube documentary thing I was talking about. The guy kept bringing up, like, every studio had to have a 3D movie out at every time. So like a lot of the times they were poorly done. So like that's probably the main reason why I remember getting so many headaches. I remember the poor glasses, because they would purposely it'd be like shoving in a square block into a circle hole. It just doesn't work, and it felt cheap because it was cheap, and the people who did try were completely shot in the back because of it. Because if one 3D experience sucks, all of them are going to have a negative connotation to them, because 3D movies were always so big. And now it's obviously not like that, but I doubt that studios are still putting in the effort to make a 3D specific film.
Oh yeah, I remember when I went to see Jurassic World in 3D, and there's like absolutely zero 3D. Like
because it wasn't filmed to be 3D. Like they didn't make the movie to be 3D. That's the problem. Avatar was made to be 3D, but like now I can't even think of any other film that specifically was made on 3D. Like in the I think
that Aquaman is. I think that Aquaman is the last movie that I saw in 3D, and I could be remembering that wrong. I might have just been thinking about like.
Was Aquaman specifically made for 3D though? That's the question? Like I don't think there's any 3D specific films being made anymore, which is the reason why it's dead. Is because it's like these movies aren't supposed to be 3D. It's the same problem with modern DVDs. Modern DVDs suck because they're being, they're being like reformatted into a lower quality thing so that they could go to a specific niche, which is like people who, like not spending a lot of money on movies,
Right.
But I don't know. I mean, I think 3D, if it would ever make a comeback, it would definitely be within the next like 15 years when theaters have to get better, when theaters have to pick up with the ante. Because I feel like eventually, either theaters are going to have to make the viewing experience so great that it has a reason to exist, or it somehow makes
it's 4D.
Yeah, like that's what I was
4D next. Oh wow, you can smell the sweat off of Tom Holland's brow.
I mean, some movies would be cool. Like for example, Dune. I saw Dune in theaters not too long ago. Like was that November or December? I can't remember.
I think it was October.
Oh, it was October. I was close.
Yeah.
It was October 2021, and like I feel like if that movie was 3D or 4D, I mean, like you could smell the cinnamon in the air from the spice, and like I feel like it would work for something like that. But like I don't think you need to see like
they like actually
Dog.
like inject cocaine into like the.
I wasn't going there, but yeah.
Everyone's super high when they leave the movie.
It's like a Quentin Tarantino movie. It's just constantly being pumped with cigarettes.
Yeah.
And feet. Oh no.
Yeah. Oh, dude, man. I finished Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, the book, today.
I have not. I still have a couple hours left.
The ending of the book is super different than in the movie.
Yeah, I could only imagine because the entire book is completely different. Like it's not as different. It's just, but it is different. Like
it's reorganized.
Yeah, I mean, like you don't even. There's some scenes in the movie that like aren't even remotely the same.
Yeah.
Like
questions that I had. Oh yeah. A few questions that I had, like, while listening to it was, like, I wonder how much of this was shot and, like, not used. Because...
He already said... I think Quentin said that there's probably, like, 3 hours and 10 minutes of an extended version, and he only released it 3 hours and 6 minutes, so there's, like, pretty much nothing. And I saw some of the extended stuff. It was, like, commercial stuff. You know how, like, he likes to, like, make little, like, not Easter eggs. I think he did it for Inglourious Bastards as well, or maybe it wasn't that. Regardless, it doesn't matter. He did like a commercial for Red Apple, the cigarette company that he.
Oh yeah.
And then he did an extended version of Rick Dalton singing for that show. Forgot the show called.
Oh, that's funny.
But it had one scene or had two scenes that actually held content. And I sent one of them to you, the Charlie Manson's extended scene, which definitely should have been in the movie. And then the scene where Rick Dalton's talking to the director, and the director asks him about his spirit animal. He's like, "We should find you a spirit animal." That was in the book, but it wasn't in the
yeah. Have you made it to the parts where it's like in the show that Jim Stacy and Rick Dalton's in? Have you made it to this part?
Yeah, I'm at that part now. All right, we got a segment off of this. Okay. I haven't finished the book, and also people, I doubt that they've read the book.
Well, I'm just saying that once you get into the part in the movie, like the later parts that's in the movie, like I was listening to it and I'm like, dude, Quentin Tarantino needs to make this because it's actually really good. Like I just like while listening to it, I'm like I mean I have a huge soft spot for westerns and stuff. I love stuff like that, especially corny western TV shows and stuff. But like I would totally watch that show. Like while listening, I'm like, dang, dude. Like because I remember hearing a rumor after Once Upon a Time in Hollywood came out that I guess it was either that show or Bounty Law. Quentin Tarantino make a 10-episode miniseries.
It had to have been Bounty Law because the show that he was on was a real show.
Oh, was it really?
Yeah, it was a real show. I think it had 2 seasons in 69 to like 70 something.
Well, one thing I thought was really cool.
Oh, you're cutting out a little bit.
Oh, my bad. The little girl actor. The movie did such a good job of convincing me that all this stuff was like I knew that it was like a fictionalized version of, like, obviously Rick Dalton and Cliff Booth are not real people, but like the little girl, I thought that she was an actual actress because the movie did such a good job of convincing me. Because like they're like, well, I shouldn't spoil the book, but I was like, I found myself like looking up.
I gotta stop you there because we're wasting time on stuff to people. People are like, what are these guys talking about? What book? All right. Anyways, so this kind of is kind of related to what we were just talking about with like obviously Quentin Tarantino is one of the biggest directors of all time. But you've obviously seen this a lot. A lot of directors are saying like if you haven't seen their movie in theaters, you haven't actually seen it like properly. I wonder like what's gonna happen like when that doesn't exist anymore. Obviously, the biggest one that I'm not sure if he's the biggest. Well, he's definitely one of the biggest people who said it, but I'm not sure how many times he said it. Martin Scorsese, he made The Irishman, and it was only in theaters for like I think it had like some showings in like some big theaters in New York, but I'm pretty sure it didn't have a national release. I might be mistaken, but I'm pretty sure it didn't have anything like that. It was exclusive.
Yeah, it didn't have a wide theater release.
Which is crazy to me because that movie is insane. And he's an old school director, and directors of that era feel that if you haven't even seen the movie in theaters and you didn't really see the movie properly, which I don't necessarily agree with. I think that theaters make it a better experience, but I feel like it's okay if you watch a movie on your phone. Like you're not.
Well, you have to think about like I don't know, 20 years from then, or I guess not even 20 years from the 5 years from then, like the only options you have are on Blu-rays and streaming services.
Yeah.
Which is something that I've been thinking a lot about actually is, will Dune be like the Star Wars of our generation? And what I mean by that is like, obviously you and I never experienced Star Wars, the first one, in theaters, right?
Yeah.
But we constantly hear about the sensation that was Star Wars, Mm-hmm. And I wonder if like movies like Dune, which I feel as though are enhanced by seeing it in the theaters, will people view Dune the same way that they view Star Wars, because of that?
Not at all. Dune is much more.
Dune is more the Lord of the Rings of our time.
Dune is much more I don't know if mature is the right word. It's more complex. Like, not to say Star Wars is two-dimensional, but when you're holding Star Wars up to Dune, it is two-dimensional. Dune is very deep and complex and has a lot of stuff. I remember in my theater, at least, when people were watching it, they had no clue what was going on. I didn't know what was going on until I read the book. Then I rewatched the movie, and I was like, this is gold. I thought it was good the first time, but like with no context at all. Like, I don't know. There's you gotta remember how many books there are of Dune, and then how long Dune has been a thing. They're still releasing books of Dune, and Dune came out in what year did Dune come out?
I think the 60s.
60. No, it might have. Was it? I think it might have been late 50s. Let me just check. I mean, like it's not the same as Star Wars at all. Because Star Wars, it's like it's a easy watch.
Well, Dune's definitely what I'm getting at. Well, what I'm getting at is like I have seen a lot of my favorite movies came out before I was born, right? So, for example, The Seventh Seal, Seven Samurai, Rope, Psycho, Citizen Kane, It's a Wonderful Life. All of those movies came out before I was born, but I wasn't able to see them in theaters because they're all, they all came out before my parents were even born.
Yeah.
So I wonder if movies like Dune will stand the test of time once the next generation or our kids or great grandkids will watch it, and I wonder if they'll look at it the same way that we looked at it.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I don't know. There's a lot that could happen. Obviously, there's so many different possibilities when it comes to like how old media will be perceived or how it will even be watched. But I feel like in the most optimistic way, maybe like theaters will be the way that I kind of hope they will be, is more premium. And I think that
Right.
this is kind of off topic, but I feel like the best thing that a theater could do right now is like instead of just releasing new movies, they should actually start releasing like classics that people like love. It would
Yes,
make
dude.
so
I've
much
been
money.
wanting this for so long.
Which some
I've been wanting.
okay, wait. Let me say this real fast. To be fair, theaters do that, but they're never like talked about. Like the only way that you know that it's happening is if you go to that theater and it has like an
Right.
advertisement for it. Like
Yeah,
Star
yeah,
Wars is the
because
biggest
I
one.
remember.
Like
I
there's
remember.
theaters around where I live, and there's always like a Star Wars movie playing, but like no,
Yeah.
like it's never advertised. I don't know about it until I see it. Like
Yeah, I remember. My brother is really into anime and stuff, and he wanted to see the Demon Slayer movie that came out last year. So I wanted to go see it with him. And our theater Cinemark was advertising a re-release of the Transformers movie from the 80s. And yeah, I never heard about that because it's I heard about it when, like, not even a preview, I just saw a poster of it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'd absolutely love to see The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly in theaters, or Citizen Kane, or Seven Samurai, just because, or The Dark Knight, because, even if I did see The Dark Knight when I was young, when it came out in theaters, I would have been too young to even remember it.
Well,
So
there are problems with that though. I mean, like it would be expensive because you got to remember, they were using different technology at the time. And I'm not, obviously I'm not, super informed on that type of stuff. But I'm pretty sure there would be converting issues, like getting like a classic film like The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, which came out when in the 40s or is it even
60s.
Oh, okay, I was a little off. 60s. Even then, 60s. The technology was different. I wonder if that would be an issue. Like, obviously, you can convert it, but then it wouldn't be as good of quality. So then you got to spend money to get it better. I don't know. I mean, I do think that it's definitely something that theaters are probably going to do soon, because we talked about in the first segment. There so many streaming services are gobbling up these big films. Like, look at Dune. Dune was the exception because Dune sold an insane amount of tickets in theaters, but Dune was co-released on HBO Max. Like, how long until it won't be co-released and it'll be only released on the streaming services? Because it'll make probably just as much money. I mean, especially when it's made by, it wasn't. I'm trying to think of an example of when a Netflix movie like that was made by Netflix. Obviously, like I wonder how long it would take for like those type of films to be just as good as these A-list films, to where like it will only be released on there, and all the movies are going to be released on streaming services, because again, theaters can't compete with the convenience of watching it on your iPhone.
Oh yeah.
All right.
Convenience has really.
Let's wrap it up with these last couple of remarks. Yeah, that was your cue, man.
Oh, you cut out hardcore.
Oh, what I said was let's have our last couple of remarks because we got to wrap it up.
All right. Well, here's my remarks. I think that streaming services are a beautiful thing, and it has been how I've discovered a lot of my favorite movies. But nothing can ever compare to the movie theater experience.
I concur. Hope you guys enjoyed this. I don't know. We might mark this as episode 1, maybe episode 1.5, since this is like.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think I'll be episode 1 again. I don't know. Episode 1, number 2. But
yeah.
Anyways, I don't know when the episode 2 is gonna come out. This is episode 1. I don't know when episode 2 is gonna come out, but hopefully it'll be a good one. So you should check it out. If you enjoyed listening to this, don't forget, man. Goodbye.
Don't forget goodbye, yeah.